I want to talk tonight from Matthew chapter 12, verses 1 through 14, about fearless faith. And if you look at that, you may ask yourself, is there any other kind of faith but fearless faith? Because if you look at the opposite of that, fearful faith, that's a contradiction in terms, isn't it? An oxymoron. Fearful faith, fearless faith. Page 1274 in your Journey Bible. At that time, Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry and began to pick some heads of grain and eat them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, "Look, your disciples are doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath." They were harvesting. He answered, "Haven't you read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God, and he and his companions ate the consecrated bread, which was not lawful for them to do, but only for the priests. Or haven't you read in the law that on the Sabbath the priests in the temple desecrate the day and yet are innocent? They work on the Sabbath. I tell you that one greater than the temple is here. If you had known what these words mean, 'I desire mercy, not sacrifice,' you would not have condemned the innocent, for the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath." Going on from that place, he went into their synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. My friend Joe Schultz used to preach this passage, and he went into great detail about how people who had physical deformities back in that time, in that culture, were considered cursed by God. Who sinned? This blind man, who sinned? Did he or did his parents sin? Obviously, sin is involved in order for him to have this deformity. And so they looked upon the deformity as God's punishment in some way. And so if you have a physical deformity like a withered hand, and you go out in public, what do you think you do with that deformity? As best you can, you try to hide it, don't you? You don't want people to see what's wrong with you. And especially in a culture where whatever is wrong with you is criticized and judged and seen as a sign of God's punishment. So when Jesus said to him, "Stretch out your hand," how do you think he felt? I've got to reveal to you my infirmity. I've got to come out of hiding and show myself and my brokenness and my woundedness and be vulnerable. Looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, they ask him, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?" He said to them, "If any of you has a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a man than a sheep?" And of course, you see what he was saying to them. You value animals more than you value humans who were created in the image of God. You value strict obedience to the law more than you value mercy and grace and healing. How much more valuable is a man than a sheep? Therefore, it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." What a risk that man took. That at the words of Jesus, at this loving invitation of Jesus, he was being asked to come out of hiding. He was being asked to become vulnerable and to become visible. Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand. So he stretched it out, and it was completely restored, just as sound as the other. But the Pharisees went out and plotted how they might kill Jesus. So to them, it was not lawful to heal on the Sabbath. To them, it was not lawful to show grace and mercy and unleash God's healing power at the wrong time of the week. And what Jesus was saying is human need and my capacity and my power to respond to that need knows no restriction of day and time and place. Responding to human need matters the most because humans matter most.